Well, hello there, friends. How are we doing? Hi, Clay.
Hi, Lynn.
How you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
It is. I don't know what day it is, but I'm sure it's fabulous.
It is. It is.
I hear rumor.
It is a beautiful day.
Good to know. You two have got it together there.
Oh, I was going for Mr. Rogers, but there you go.
Okay, we can go to the neighborhood. That's fine.
This is what makes it all worthwhile.
Pop cultural references.
Well, I was just thinking, like when you're like, I remember being home sick, right, in grade school, elementary school, middle school, high school, and Mr. Rogers was kind of always on. Right?
Perfect attendance kit.
Do you remember? Oh, yeah. See, I would sometimes skip school just to watch TV at home, and like, yeah. And the
Mama didn't play no fool.
See, and I would get to watch game shows. I used to love to skip school and watch game shows, like The Price is Right and the original Family Feud. Survey says.
Oh, speaking of surveys,
it's almost like I set that whole thing up.
Some things are a setup in life, and other things you just stumble into,
like our careers.
Or, yeah, that.
Yeah.
Right.
So surveys. So what's your experience?
I'd love a survey. I must get a survey in my inbox from someone, not a nonprofit though, but someone who cares what I think at least once every other day from a brand. And if I'm out traveling, oh boy.
And I mean, it's gotten to the point, I don't know about you, but it's gotten to the point where I get the survey before I've almost completed the transaction online.
Yeah. I haven't even checked out of the hotel and they're like, so how was that?
I love that. Right.
I'm like, well, I'm sitting on your Wi-Fi. Would you like me to answer?
Can I check out first?
Yes.
Right. Please. Yes. So
do I get a discount if I take the survey? Right.
So,
surveys.
And donor surveys, donor experiences.
We have lots of those.
We do have lots of those. I have a fun story about donor surveys.
It would not be the Fundraising is Funny podcast without a fun survey. Or a fun story.
We should do a survey.
Hey, guys.
Hey, pipe in at fundraisingisfunny.com and let us know if you want a survey.
Yeah.
How about that?
We'll ask you things that we think you care about.
We should totally do just like a totally goofball survey.
Like, on what day of the week do you feel?
And, or like, what's your favorite snack and why is it Cheetos?
We know one day we're going to have to do the Cheetos episode.
We are going to have to do the Cheetos episode.
Love you, Daddy.
Okay, so donor surveys.
Sure.
Now,
Tell me the story. I want to hear.
In my world, like donor surveys are relatively new. Relatively within the last 10 years or so. I don't know that we were really doing them before the advent of digital and more online stuff. And I think there were some probably for larger organizations, but anyway. So donor surveys, I love them. I think they're wonderful.
I think they're underutilized.
They are absolutely agreed. And I think it's one of the best ways to, and I know we've talked about this both on this podcast and off, first party versus third party data, right?
Sure.
Getting a survey is one of those great ways to break through some of that just data that we see and then find out
active or passive intelligence.
Right. And really get to know what your donors are saying and what they're feeling. Side note, it's also a fantastic way to clean up your database.
And if you ever want to know what one really angry person feels about you, send them a survey.
Oh, yes.
I mean, really.
Yes.
There's nothing better than somebody who's hacked off who
Yep.
just wants to tell you how miserable they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I digress.
So I was talking to a buddy of mine not too long ago, and he and I were both part of a leadership training program, year-long thing, and he is very active in the charitable and that leadership program really like drove home for him the importance of volunteering and all of that. And he called me up one day and he goes, so I'm sort of his go-to nonprofit guy. And anyway, building you a clock to tell you what time it is. Anyway, he calls me and he says, hey, I just got this survey from one of the charities that I support. I'm like, awesome. I was thrilled to hear that they were doing it. And I said, tell me about the survey.
Please tell me they didn't mail it to him. Sorry.
I think this one was online.
Oh, gosh. I hope so.
So he says, yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, tell me about the survey. Sorry. Again, train of thought there. Tell me about this survey. And if you get a chance, forward it to me. And he did. And I said, so what's the question? And he goes, well, here's the thing. Is this normal for charities to do? And I said the same thing I just said to you. You know, it's a good thing to do, blah, blah, blah. He goes, here's my question. So when I gave, it's because, you know, the material said if I gave, you know, X amount, it would do X, Y, Z. Right?
Okay.
He goes, I've never heard from him. He goes, I'd actually forgotten that I supported him.
After he gave, he never heard from him until the survey?
And I said, okay, so that happens. I said, I'm sorry to hear that. And he goes, yeah, but their first question on the survey was, how do you feel about the impact of the gift you made?
Whoopsies.
So I go, so wait, you gave a gift to do a thing. Yeah. And
we skipped a step.
Then they asked you how you felt about how the thing was done. And he goes, and I have no idea. Oh.
Bless him.
That's kind of a head smack for me.
Well, maybe somebody didn't talk to somebody about the somebody thing.
You know, you got to wonder. I don't know.
Give people the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know.
And, you know, it's really interesting because I also have seen surveys. One of my favorite questions in a survey to donors is, when did you make your last gift? And I'm like, don't you have that in your database?
Right. Or, you know, describe your relationship to our organization. Are you a volunteer, a donor? Yeah.
Yes. Somebody that we mail blank things to just to see what'll happen.
Has a university ever sent you one? Are you an alumni? I've gotten that one.
Well, speaking of, so I don't want to diverge too much off the survey track, but sure. Did you know that apparently if you give money to certain universities, they'll just lump you right into their alumni and you can vote on their alumni board and go on their alumni travels.
Love it.
I have degrees from all kinds of places for a $25 annual fund donation.
I am good.
Because they lump me right in with all their alumni. And that is a segment for another day.
Segment. I see what you did there. Yes. Good. Well done.
Punny.
Well done.
Punny.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done. So I didn't know what or how to say to him, you know, and I get what he was saying, you know, and boy, howdy, I just went, what a wasted opportunity. Or let's not say wasted. Let's say a missed opportunity.
Just flew right by him.
Right. Because if we're asking a donor to support and make a gift to do a thing that our mission promises, and then we want to find out how they feel about it, which I think is fantastic.
How we did the thing.
Right.
Right.
But then we missed that step there in the middle of saying,
which is doing the thing and spending the money.
Right. How we did the thing with your gift that we said we would do.
Now, see, in my world, the question is, well, did the money get spent?
Yeah.
And then in other nonprofits, they're like, well, we were so busy spending the money, we couldn't tell you about it because we were busy spending the money.
Precisely.
Right. And I'm always like, But, you know, we know that for donors that when we take their money, we make two promises. Mm-hmm. Number one, that we're going to be grateful. So we have to thank the donor. Mm-hmm. And number two, that we have to tell them what we did with their money. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they won't give again, and they really shouldn't give again, right?
What is it you always say? If you can't afford to, if you don't, how do you phrase that? If you can't thank a donor, you don't deserve to have a donor?
Pretty much.
Did I get that?
An attitude of gratitude is a simple thing.
Attitude of gratitude.
Right? So you need to thank the donor.
Right.
And then tell them what you did with the money.
Exactly.
Before
asking them for another gift.
Precisely. Or how they feel about the first gift.
Right. Exactly.
It's a simple formula. Right. But we're so quick to try to get that second gift or to, you know, apparently gather intelligence or something that we're missing.
Right.
Direct feedback is great. I'm shocked the charity's even asking for feedback.
And again, I want to celebrate the sending of a survey. Like, bravo.
Yay.
You know?
Yay. But let's also make sure that when we ask our donors things that we're thoughtful, that we're not asking things that we already know, mm-hmm. and that we're also really thinking about what am I going to do with this information.
There we go.
Once I ask it of the donor.
That's gold right there.
Right. And so, you know, after we come back, I'm feeling a little schnacky.
Are you feeling schnacky?
Yeah, just a little something.
Okay.
But after we come back, let's discuss what are the opportunities for surveying your donors, and also, maybe what are some questions to ask and what are some questions not to ask.
I like it.
Right?
Good.
All right.
And we're back.
My goodness. I only had time to eat my suggested serving size of wheat thins.
Good for you. Good for you. So we're
For
talking
a family of 4.
We're talking surveys.
We're
talking surveys. Both big fans, yes?
Yes, with a caveat.
Yes.
That I'm a big fan of micro surveys. Like 5 questions or less. Ain't nobody got time for that, if you know what I mean. And I'm a big fan of asking surveys that are actionable. So what are you going to do with this? How are you going to? So, for example, it would do me no good to, let's say I worked at Duke University, known as the Blue Devils.
Yes.
And sent out a survey and said to my alumni, do you like the color blue? Do you think we should keep the color blue? I can't change the color blue.
Right.
And B, we're going to keep it.
Right.
Why am I asking?
Right.
Am I just trying to irritate people?
Right.
And so I think we, really need to be thoughtful. So one of my favorite questions after events, for example, is the Net Promoter Score, right? Is this event good enough that you would tell somebody else or bring them?
Sure.
But the Net Promoter Score isn't something I would use about all things at my organization.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm sure you have an example of somebody who waywardly used.
So net promoter score is in general that question, right? Would you recommend this to your friends?
Right.
Or
would you promote this?
Right.
Do you like it enough to tell somebody else about it positively?
And a lot of folks use net promoter score as an indication of how are we resonating with our customer base, with our client base, with our donor base, because it says, hey, I care enough about this that I would recommend it,
somebody else.
To somebody else. I get net promoter scoring surveys for all kinds of things that I'm like, literally, that was a one-time purchase. I'm not coming back. So yeah. So sometimes anyway, yes, but net promoter score can be really interesting when used as a major benchmark with a charity to go, oh, none of our donors would recommend it. Well, there's a whole lot of reasons why they might say no. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't like you. The question is, would you promote it?
Well, and so that also being very careful about how you ask questions.
Right.
So you and many people know I'm not a fan of the list of donors, the honor rolls, the whatever we're going to call them that people print and mail out to people. There's a whole website dedicated to it. But if you ask the question to a donor, how do you like to be recognized for your giving, and give that as an option, then people are going to select it.
Right.
Or do you like being listed in an honor roll of donors? Somebody's going to say yes or no, right? And you're probably not going to get the results you want because A, it's not a scientifically valid question, and B, donors will say yes, they like anything, right? But if you say a question like, is being listed in an honor roll or a listing of donors a deciding factor about whether or not you give to this charity or not, now you're talking about a fair and equitable question. And as an Enneagram 8, I am nothing if not queen of fair and equitable, right? But also then you're saying, is this a decision factor in your charitable decision making?
Right.
And I have done many of those surveys that ask that exact question. And the highest, do you want to play a game? Highest score out of 100, X% of donors said it is a decision factor in whether or not they make a gift, whether their name is listed.
Oh, I would guess less than 20% said.
The highest I've ever gotten is 8%.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a decision factor.
Now, in the performing arts, it's different.
Okay, but that's patronage. Right? They feel like they're a patron of the arts, so they have their name listed in the program, right? Yeah. That makes sense.
But I think you raise a very good point about scientifically valid questions. And it's one thing if you're considering doing a donor survey to really consider and look at, because human behavior and the studies in psychology tell us that people respond to surveys actually in the way we think we behave.
They're hopeful.
Right, which makes sense, right? No, I think I'm this kind of person, so this is why I behave this way.
Is that why when I get a survey that asks me if I eat vegetables, I say yes.
Exactly.
My
Precisely.
mom thinks I do.
Right. What kind of activity is your lifestyle? Well, I'm moderately active. I moderately walk from the sofa to the refrigerator, get a snack.
Potato is a vegetable, so therefore vodka. No? Different.
I mean, yeah, wine is basically a fruit salad.
Carrot cake.
There you go. So in designing the questions, part of it is phrasing the question. So I guess my thing about surveys would be, number one, if you're going to ask a question, make sure that you've shared the information. If you're going to ask the question, how do you feel about the impact of your gift? Then
you need to have told me the impact of my gift first.
Exactly.
So, for example, if I maybe do a survey of people in Louisiana,
yeah,
and in the bayou, and I say, how much do you like snow?
Mm-hmm.
But they've never had snow.
Right.
They might be like, I really like the idea of snow.
Exactly.
Until they get snows and they're like, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Precisely.
So, and we also know that impact to our donors is, skip the gratitude all you want or the thank you note. It's fine, but you better tell them what you did with their money.
Precisely. Exactly.
Because,
so whether that's an impact report or a thank you letter
or a video,
whatever it may be,
lately I've been hooked on, definite real accountability. I love World Central Kitchen and the work that they do. I love Jose Andres. And one day I want to meet him. I'm putting that out in the universe just in case. And he gets on his own cell phone on Twitter and is like, we're currently in Ukraine. We're currently in Turkey. That is impact.
Yep, exactly.
It doesn't have to be super polished. It doesn't have to be super fancy. It is him saying, here is what we are doing with the money you've donated to us. It's powerful.
Yep.
It's powerful.
So it is. So what's our punchline here? When we're talking about surveys, what's the takeaway?
Well, to your point, surveys are a good thing.
100%.
There's never a bad time to survey.
Correct.
Your donors, because direct response is better than anecdotal.
Yes.
Where, Billy Bob didn't like that at our event, and so we'll never do that again. I have had that experience many times. But short surveys with a point that have actionable items that you can get something out of, I think are great.
Yep.
I also think we should be mindful for looking for bias in our surveys. So just a quick one. Don't send a survey about digital communications via email and expect it not to have a digital communication bias in it. Right? So, hey, do you like cell phones? And I sent you a text with the survey on it.
Right.
Yes, I'm on a cell phone doing this.
Right.
Or not do you like, but do you use a cell phone and you text it to me?
Right. Yeah.
Well, yes, I did it to get the survey.
Right.
So, hello.
Right. Right.
It's, but people don't think of that. They're in a blustery mode. They're trying to get something done. They're we're finally going to send our first survey. And then the other thing I think is, the other punchline is survey often. And, think about brands. Every time you purchase something, how did that go? But they only ask about one aspect of it. So Delta, for example, I think they do a great job of surveying, but they don't ask me how my whole thing was. They'll say, how was the check-in experience? How was the in-flight entertainment? Like, they're very specific on their survey about what section they're talking about.
Sure.
Not, do you like Delta? And I'd be like, well, it depends.
Right.
Was I in coach or did I get an upgrade?
Right.
Did I, you know what I mean? Like, well, did my bag make the weight or not? All of that factors in. Was TSA long? Oh, you have no control over that. I don't like Delta because TSA was long. Right. So again, looking back I think that's one of our punchlines. What about our share out? Like, what do we want people to do when it comes to sharing in the community, in our fundraising is funny community?
I would love to hear from folks. One, if they're doing donor surveys and what, or constituent surveys and what their experience has been. And of course, any great questions. Let's go positive on this one. Let's go hyper positive. Great questions.
Hyper positive.
Hyper positive. Going to hyperdrive. What are great questions that you've seen, whether in a survey you've done, one you've taken, one that really leapt out to you that made you go, this is a cool question?
Like, how pretty are you?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
10.
12.
15.75.
I'm sitting here looking at you and I can say 12.
Mama groom. I bathed today, so you know it happens.
So share your great stories about surveys with us. Fundraisingisfunny.com.
Or even if you have a survey fail, we love those too.
Yeah, we'll share those too. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks everybody, and maybe you'll get a survey soon.
Survey says.
Survey says. Right? No X's on this.
No big red X's.
No big red X's. Y'all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll see you soon.